but we oppose shortcuts around data-driven proposals supported by credible research and community input. We reject programs that are long on optics and short on delivering lasting solutions that work. We deserve thorough professional work from our agencies that complies with existing mandates for requisite studies. We want political advocacy for our benefit, not to our detriment, from our elected representatives who listen to their constituents. If you don't share our priorities, you don't represent us. Thank you for your service and your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Cheryl Gannon.
Good afternoon. My name is Cheryl Gannon. I'm the president of the Montgomery County Civic Federation, a 100-year-old nonprofit umbrella organization of neighborhood, civic, and homeowner associations. The membership of the Civic Federation has 5 specific requests today. 1, we request the council reject any expansion of the eligibility of lots for optional method beyond what is currently in 2502, including loopholes to allow planning to create flag lots or through lots either by waiver or at discretion of the board. 2, we request clarification that housing developed under this proposal will be subject to the same standards for lot coverage as single-family homes. This will keep new developments in scale with the surrounding neighborhood and help preserve green space. 3, we've raised significant concerns about the potential negative consequences from large developments, including displacement, infrastructure, schools, stormwater, and other concerns that were largely rejected. Lot consolidation worsens every potential problem that we raised, and for these reasons, we cannot support lot consolidation. We note that lot size varies considerably and can include lots of 20,000 square feet or more. Consolidation of larger lots lays the groundwork for very large developments outside of master planning. 4, we request clarification or confirmation that the formula for determining how many workforce units will be required in a townhouse or cottage court or similar development will apply to the total number of units built and not the typology of each individual structure within the development. It is inconsistent with stated purposes to allow development of townhouse and courtyard cottages with no workforce housing, because individually each building is a duplex or a single structure. These are the typologies that are most likely to be available for purchase by the workforce and should have a strong workforce housing allocation for the overall development. And 5, we endorse the proposal of the Citizens Coordinating Committee for Resident Advisory Committees to have meaningful input into corridor developments in their community. This proposal ensures resident voice in a process that has already bypassed master planning. We maintain our overarching concerns with this and other housing proposals. We question the need for this continual push for upzoning, considering that the Council of Governments has said we have enough zone capacity now. The proposal ignores the importance of master planning and infrastructure needs. Data used in formulating housing proposals is often inconsistent, non-existent, old, or just wrong. And decision makers often talk about increasing home ownership and generational wealth for middle-income workers, a worthy goal, but there is no concrete policy beyond the down payment assistance program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Kimberly Prasad. Oh, if you, press the button. Thank you.
My name is Kimberly Prasad, and I'm the Executive Director of EPIC of MoCo, Empowering People and Communities. And looking through the racial equity lens, I want to discuss the planning director. He says the planners are dreamers, but dreams don't pay rent, dreams don't stop flooding, school overcrowding, or skyrocketing rents. And dreamers won't protect the seniors, working families, and communities of color who will be pushed out because of ZTA 2502. Because while planners are dreaming, our communities are the ones living in the harsh realities they refuse to confront. Wheaton is already everything Thrive claims to want for this county. We are diverse religiously, ethnically, financially, and racially. Yet this plan, as the OLO report itself warned, risks tearing our community apart in the pursuit of wealthier, whiter Montgomery County. That's not equity. That's not progress. That's displacement dressed up as planning. Hear what needs to happen. Reject any planning board changes that expands upzoning beyond ZTA 2502. Keep the rules from going further than what was passed in July. No loopholes for flag or through lots that would push dense development deep into the neighborhoods. No net loss of affordable housing, Every affordable home demolished must be replaced to an equal or lower cost before new projects move forward. Tie lot consolidations to real affordability. If developers want bigger projects, they must set aside significant percentage of units as deeply affordable, not just market rate housing labeled as affordable. Protect green space and trees. Apply the same lot coverage rules as single-family homes, so new projects leave room for trees, yards, and stormwater management. Permanent community oversight. Create a citizen advisory committee with real power to hold planners and developers accountable for promises made to the community. This isn't about waiting for perfection. It's about stopping displacement before it happens. From redlining to rezoning, different policies, same injustice. Progress that pushes out the very people who built this county isn't progress. It's racism, dressed up as redevelopment, and you need to do better, and so does planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Rocky Whitesell.
Hi. I just wanted to speak against this amendment to restrict zoning further because every day I see more and more homeless people in the county, and that's borne out by the statistics. It seems the county is unique among the counties around here in having skyrocketing. The rate of homelessness is going up every year. And to talk about homelessness is really to talk about the amount of housing units. There's not enough housing being built. And everyone here seems to be on some sort of committee or some sort of interest group. But if there's no housing built, homelessness is going to get worse. And I just feel like you're not going to hear from homeless people here. You're just going to hear from people who have some vested interest in not building houses. So all I ask is this amendment to restrict zoning further isn't even the problem. There needs to be upzoning to a much greater degree, and to restrict it to the corridors is nowhere near enough. I feel like the council talks a lot about these things, but it's as if people just don't want to see the homeless. So that's all.
Thank you. Thank you to this panel for your testimony. The next in-person group we'll bring up is Kevin Bromberg, Karen Bolte, and Sonia Garcia. Mr. Bromberg, you can begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Bromberg, a resident of Section 5 of Chevy Chase. So the council has acted precipitously in approving ZTA 2502 without providing any supporting analysis. As I was taught in elementary school, show your work. Neither the council nor its staff has produced any evidence that this hastily written legislation will create affordable housing. The only clear beneficiary is the development community. Given this evidence, there's no reason to expect that the ZTA is going to achieve its stated goal of increasing access to missing middle housing. So the council has one last opportunity now to mitigate the damage that the ZTA is doing. It could impose strict limits on consolidation of abutting lots along the corridors. The planning staff's review failed to account for consolidation of larger parcels, as you've heard. Planning staff has even recommended reversing the council's earlier decision to exclude flag lots and through lots. These recommendations should be examined in light of the current planning board's poor track record for sound planning. Its AHSI plan was so poorly conceived that even the council that appointed the board members rejected it. Yet the AHSI proposal served as a stalking horse for more housing now, which the council did pass, unfortunately. Apparently, one of the best arguments in favor of more housing now was that it wasn't as bad as AHSI. And yes, a council member actually told me, a council member who's running for county executive actually said this to me. I would suggest that a county with the most educated and informed citizens in the country deserve more thoughtful representation. So we also saw the pattern continue in the planning board's recent release of the University Boulevard corridor upzoning plan. At the July event hosted by Fanny Gonzalez, residents voiced strong opposition, citing traffic safety and gentrification concerns. As one resident said at the Blair High School hearing, "This plan is being done to us, not for us." To scattered laughter, one mother reported that her car carried more passengers than the buses she saw on the boulevard, and this plan is promoting more buses. Another resident filed a formal request to detail the elaborate feedback that the planning board alleged that they were responding to. The planning board, staying in character, advised the resident it would cost over $1,000 to provide that information. Does that mean that the extensive feedback that the board boasts about was lost? This hardly inspires confidence regarding the board's recommendations. So what does this tell us about the value of the planning board's latest recommendations about consolidation? Is this being done to us or for us? How long will this council continue to take this planning board seriously? So let's talk about what we learned in Section 5, and I guess we're not going to.
Mr. Bromberg, you can submit your comments and we will read them. Thank you very much for joining us today. Next, we have Karen Bolte.
Hi, I'm Karen Bolte, president of the Wildwood Manor Citizens Association, which represents more than 500 Bethesda homes, and I appreciate the opportunity to testify today. WMCA urges the County Council to amend SRA 2502 to completely prohibit the creation of flag lots, through lots, and lots that do not abut a public or private road. As currently written, SRA 2502 includes loopholes that would allow the Planning Board to approve such lots. This is completely contrary to the legislative intent of ZTA 2502 and council members' repeated statements to the public about ZTA 2502's scope. Council member Friedson himself could not have been clearer in his direction that SRA 2502 prohibit flag lots and through lots. In his June 18th SRA request, he stated, quote, "As I have shared numerous times with residents, inclusion of such lots was not the legislative intent of ZTA 2502 as introduced and should be prohibited." WMCA also urges the council to prohibit lot consolidation under SRA 2502 in order to limit the negative impacts on the environment, schools, infrastructure, transportation, stormwater management, and other public facilities and services. If lot consolidation is allowed, it should be limited to no more than 2 consecutive eligible parcels. Given the existence of many significantly large lots throughout the county, WMCA urges the council to include a provision in SRA 2502 to limit the size of new workforce housing developments that can be built on consolidated lots to twice the square footage minimum for the applicable residential zone. In addition, the council should limit maximum lot coverage for any workforce housing development to the limits for single-family homes. This will help to reduce negative impacts to the surrounding community. WMCA continues to urge the council to consider and pursue other effective ways to address the need for workforce and affordable housing that do not involve the elimination of single-family zoning. Thank you for your consideration of our concerns and recommendations.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Sonia Garcia.
I'll first speak in Spanish and then I'll translate to English. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Sonia, nací y crecí en Wheaton y vivo detrás de una casa en el corredor. Hablo en el nombre de mi comunidad latina y de mis padres que trabajan más de un trabajo y no pueden estar aquí en esta hora en un martes. Esta audiencia excluye nuestras voces. Les pido adoptar protecciones contra el desplazamiento. Good afternoon. My name is Sonia, and I was born and raised in Wheaton, and I live directly behind a corridor home impacted by the ZTA and companion SRA. I'm here representing my parents, Latino, immigrant, and senior folks, disproportionately targeted, whose homes some on this council dismiss as teardowns, and who cannot be here while working multiple jobs, and scheduling this hearing during work hours excludes those very voices most affected. It is shameful that we've gotten this far. There is no proper outreach, and even Latinos who oppose this were ignored. This is racism, discrimination, and gentrification in disguise. Targeted displacement, plain and simple. In today's climate, where profiling already keeps my community in fear, layering up zone and lot consolidation adds another removal pressure. Quieter than an ICE raid, but just as destabilizing. And you cannot call this equity when a majority Black and Latino corridors are targeted while Potomac remains untouched. But here we are. So I urge the County Council to amend SRA 2502 as follows. 1. Reject any changes that expand upzoning beyond the ZTA, close the loopholes, ban flag and through lots to keep upzoning out of neighborhoods interiors like my house. That safeguard must be upheld. Limiting consolidations is not an obstacle. It is a safeguard to ensure growth happens responsibly and without displacing communities who have no idea this is happening because of inaccessible information, language barriers, and lack of proper outreach. Number 2, reject any consolidations. Unlimited consolidations fuels displacements and funnels more money to developers while residents, taxpayers, by the way, are left struggling. Real affordability and equity come from protecting people, not removing them. 3, match lot coverage limits to single-family homes to protect trees, green space, and stormwater. Large consolidations do not preserve the environment, they remove canopy and increase runoff. 4, protect residents from displacement by adopting a no net loss policy so affordable homes are replaced and guarantee current residents at the right to remain at comparable cost. 5, require affordability in larger projects. Projects of 19 units or fewer currently have no MPDU or workforce housing requirements, and this gap must be closed. And 6, create a citizens advisory committee led by corridor residents of color to ensure transparency, accountability, and protect the communities most impacted. Creating more housing should never be at the expense of pushing out and displacing the residents who built this county and keep it running today. Our community deserves protection, stability, and respect. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you to this panel. Those are all the in-person speakers we had today for the public hearing on the SRA. We will now turn to our virtual speakers, and the first we have is Sue Present. She is also speaking on item number 6, so you will have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, President Stewart and council members. I appreciate the opportunity to testify on SRA 2502 and ZTA 2511. Please reject SRA 2502. In areas zoned for detached housing, allow 3 multiplexes to span across 3 adjacent lots, amplifies the negative effects of ZTA 2502 referenced in my previous correspondence to you. Also, a single driveway serving as many as 12 households functions as an uncontrolled street crossing, posing hazards to pedestrians and cyclists. On ZTA 2511, please adopt the amendments that I'm discussing today. Justification for a temporary telecommunications facility or temporary tower should be more targeted. A temporary tower should only be governed by the weaker 2511 standards and reviews when unforeseen abrupt displacement of an applicant's antenna is due to the destruction or impairment of the antenna's existing structure, and only when no other existing structure can accommodate the antennas. That destruction or impairment must be the result of a disaster, other emergency, peril such as a support structure fire or collapse, or another similar event. Foreseeable needs and risks should not be grounds for bypassing telecom tower requirements, and increased communications for an emergency should be addressed through the county emergency operations plan and public safety regulations. Also, given the recent unorthodox federal emergency declarations, the emergency should be declared by the county. ZTA permitting provisions that are weaker than the regulations in the buildings chapter of the code should be deleted. For example, county code requires any tower to satisfy structural standards, regardless of impermanence, height, or duration. Under the code, the more stringent requirements apply, but regulatory conflicts invite confusion, create permitting gaps, and threaten public safety. Recently, 2 OZA hearing examiners affirmed that the section of the zoning ordinance that governs telecom towers applies to temporary towers as well. Setback standards in 2511 should be revised to harmonize with those for a telecom tower, setback standards that are more compatible with surrounding properties and neighborhoods. ZTA 2511's height standards should be harmonized with the maximum heights for a telecom tower too. Recall that ZTA 1802 reduced tower height limits in response to FCC rules allowing 20-foot increases. Towers exceeding 200 feet require FAA lighting, which can be disruptive to neighborhoods. ZTA 2511 designates a temporary tower as a limited use in all zones, but it also grants DPS discretionary approval authority. This discretionary by right status is contradictory and sets a troubling precedent. DPS provides ministerial reviews and approvals. Provisions that give DPS discretional authority must be removed. When introducing 2511, the sponsor asserted that the ZTA would expedite Tower Committee and DPS reviews, claiming it can take almost a year before work on a temporary tower can begin, and implying that reviews were to blame. However, county records show that the applicants themselves are responsible for the delays. Over the past 16 years, 9 applications for temporary towers were processed by the Tower Committee. All agency reviews expeditiously greenlit these applications. No application was filed due to urgency, aside from the urgency created by the applicants themselves. These applicants had significant advance notice, usually years, but they failed to submit timely applications. In addition, every building permit request submitted to DPS was delayed due to the applicant's failure to meet structural standards. The council established these tower review processes to protect us. To call these processes rigmarole is dismissive and offensive. I urge you to consider the amendments that I've outlined today and that are detailed in my written testimony. If ZTA 2511 is not amended accordingly, then please vote no. Also, please vote no on SRA 2502. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker on Zoom is Diane Lynn.
Hello, I'm Diane Lynn, president of the Wheaton Forest Civic Association. While I understand that subdivision regulation amendment SRA 252 is related to ZTA 2502, we have concerns that what is decided here may be applied to those of us unfortunate enough to be impacted by the proposed University Boulevard corridor plan. While I'm pleased that the SRA limits lot consolidation or assemblage to no more than 3, unfortunately, that is not enough of a limitation. We favor no lot consolidation. With 6 houses on each side of my street, 3 houses on my block are half of one side of the street and 25% of the entire street. Townhouses are being built narrower and higher than before, and 4 stories seems to be standard, as well as piggyback townhouses that are even taller. 50-foot tall or higher apartment buildings will seem huge and not compatible with existing houses and will lack necessary parking. This type of construction is not compatible with our small houses on R60 lots. For every house that is consolidated, it's a loss of workforce housing. No flag lots or through lots should be created or used under workforce housing optional method development. No loopholes. To do so would allow denser building forms into neighborhoods rather than having them adjacent to applicable roadways. This type of construction would likely pave over existing backyards, creating stormwater runoff issues that flood the basements of downhill properties. Thank you very much. Please consider our comments. We haven't felt heard in this process, going back to Thrive. So hopefully the council is listening to these comments that you're getting from the civic associations. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ann Telma.
Hello.
Oh, Ann, your microphone just went off.
Better?
Yep, we can hear you again.
Okay. So Council President Stewart, Council Member Friedson, and other members of the council, Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm Ann Telma, a longtime resident of Westmoreland Hills, and I'm speaking for myself. I ask you to please consider the clearly expressed wishes of your current constituents and those who elected you with regards to zoning matters which will increase density in our neighborhoods over the wishes of people who currently do not live in your districts, nor even in Montgomery County. I am most concerned about the effects ZTA 2502 and now SRA 2502 will have on increasing the density in my neighborhood along the Massachusetts Avenue corridor. I am still perplexed as to how Massachusetts Avenue, which currently measures a scant 68 feet across at Massachusetts Avenue and Baltimore Avenue, could even be considered for upzoning. Apparently, somewhere deep in the documents, it indicates that it is possible to widen the stretch of Massachusetts to the requisite 100 feet to be eligible for upzoning. But I find it hard to believe that this will be a good solution, given that topography will not allow Massachusetts Avenue to be widened beyond 100 feet after Sangamore Road, leading to certain congestion and traffic if the part of Massachusetts between Westmoreland Circle and Sangamore Road is widened and upzoned. Moving on to the more immediate matter of SRA 2502, to minimize the disruption to existing neighborhoods, I agree with the points raised by the Citizens Coordinating Committee of Friendship Heights and would like SRA 2502 to be as specific and limiting as possible as to what can be constructed. Specifically, the County Council should reject any recommendations from the Planning Board that expand the eligibility of lots for upzoning beyond the terms stated in ZTA 2502. This includes any loopholes to allow flag lots and or through lots. ZTA 2502 prohibited the creation of flag lots and through lots so that upzoning would not penetrate neighborhood interiors. This is particularly important in my neighborhood, especially on Worthington Avenue. 2, the dominant zoning in my neighborhood is R60, minimum zoned lot size of 6,000 square feet. The County Council should limit R60 lot consolidation to 2 adjacent lots, and in no case should the total square footage of any R60 2-lot consolidation be greater than 12,000 square feet. These parameters reduce traffic, parking, environmental, and infrastructure problems associated with upzoning and achieve the Council's intent that upzoning under ZTA 2502 be compatible with surrounding single-family R60 zones. 3, the County Council should limit maximum lot coverage for any development on consolidated lots to the same limits as single-family homes. This provision is needed. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Ms. Tellman. You can send your full testimony to us and we will read it. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think next we're going to Melanie Stiggles. Is that correct?
Sure.
Okay. No, there are just a couple people before you, Melanie, who aren't here, so you're next.
Fantastic. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Melanie Stickle, and I'm a solo mom of 2 children here in Montgomery County, and the former president of the Indian Springs Civic Association, which represents 800 homes in Silver Spring. In that role, we made the choice to step away from the Montgomery County Civic Federation because of its antiquated views on growth and resistance to inclusive housing options. I've seen firsthand how those attitudes block diversity and equity, and are here today to urge you to not let the same obstacles shape our county's future. We are a non-traditional family, but this is our home. My kids are thriving in schools and in our community, and I want them to be able to grow up here. The reality is, I'm just one missed paycheck away from being priced out and losing my home. Like many families, I work hard, but the cost of housing has outpaced what we can manage. And for us, stability means more than roof over our heads. It means my children don't have to face the trauma of being uprooted from their schools, friends, and community. That's why I support SRA 2502 and ZTA 2502. These policies are about giving families like mine a chance to stay in Montgomery County by making housing more affordable and flexible. Proposals to add extra layers of review or resist lot consolidation would make it harder, if not impossible, for the kinds of multifamily homes our county so desperately needs. Lot consolidation isn't a loophole, it's a tool. It allows for smarter site planning, protection of mature trees, better stormwater management, and more housing opportunities on the same land. Adding barriers only delays solutions, why families like mine are pushed further into the margins. And this isn't just about us, it's about inclusivity and equity. And you pride yourself on being diverse in a welcoming place, but that promise only holds true if we make space for everyone, especially the most vulnerable, single parents, working families, immigrants, seniors on fixed incomes. Yet too often, when housing becomes scarce and costs rise, these very groups are the ones that are to be displaced first. If we want to remain a community that reflects our values, then we must prioritize policies that protect those at the margins. Housing isn't just an economic issue, it is a moral one. The ability to live, work, and raise children here should not be reserved for the wealthy or traditional households in Potomac and Bethesda. It must include solo parents like me, young people starting out, and older residents who want to age in place. I urge you, do not add more restrictions. Please stand with families like mine who want to remain here and contribute to this community and raise our children here in Montgomery County. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for representing and looking into people that weren't able to be here today, like our homeless community and our single family parents who work multiple jobs.
Thank you. Next, we have Leanne Tobias. Leanne, we can't hear you. I think you're on mute. Oh, we got you now.
Better?
Yep,
Okay,
that's better.
Wonderful. The points that I make as the chair of CCCFH, which represents 20,000 residents in 18 communities, and one of its members, the Springfield Civic Association, have been reiterated repeatedly, and I'm very glad about that, by other folks who have testified today. We support the amendments or the rejection of the planning board's amendments to allow flag lots and greater discretion on behalf of the planning department in determining what gets upzoned. We believe that lot consolidation should be limited to 12,000 square feet in R60 zones. We believe that lot consolidation should be restricted to no more than 2 lots. We feel that, in addition, lot coverage requirements should be the same as those for surrounding single-family neighborhoods. And lastly, we believe that a citizens advisory body should be convened and empowered to support, to participate in the enforcement of SRA 2502 and ZTA 2502. We make this suggestion because we feel that zoning changes should be something done for us and not to us, as others have stated. What I would like to emphasize today is that those of us who do not support ZTA 2502 and do not support some of the provisions of SRA 2502 do support the creation of affordable housing for families in this county. There are other methods that the county needs to highlight, and those are use of the Housing Production Trust Fund, transportation modalities to allow greenfield construction now available to connect with downtown areas throughout the county. And we further believe that the county should be utilizing the Affordable Housing Authority it has now to facilitate construction on behalf of families who need it. The shortcoming of ZTA 2502 is the fact that it encourages market rate housing production. That is beyond the reach of many families in many cases. It is certainly beyond the reach of those who need or qualify for affordable housing assistance. We're unhappy that the county has not considered these changes and hope that they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our last virtual speaker for this public hearing is Elizabeth Jones.
Hi. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. I'm Elizabeth Jones. I'm a resident of Worthington Drive. I will be directly impacted by the Mass Avenue corridor lot upzoning, which is part of the larger picture that we're hearing a lot about today. I agree with Leanne Tobias's comments that she just made a moment ago. I would just add, on my street, which is Worthington Drive, there are no sidewalks. Children use my street and the adjacent streets to walk to Westbrook Elementary School. Parked cars cause my street to be unusually narrow. This makes access by ambulances, buses, garbage trucks, snowplows very difficult. These are older neighborhoods that are being targeted for upzoning, and there are real difficulties that everyone is going to encounter, including the new residents that will be living in these duplexes and apartments and triplexes that are being contemplated. I think it's very important that we realize that real people will be living here, whether they're wealthy, whether they're not. However, we will all be living with the mistakes or the wise judgment that you all will be making. There are many alleyways and access routes connecting Mass Ave to interior neighborhood streets like mine, especially Worthington Drive. That will, of course, be utilized by new residents, and density, when it's increased, will cause additional congestion and safety issues. So for any lots on Mass Ave or other through lots that are other lots that have through access to interior streets, I would urge you, please prohibit those from being included in the upzoning project. Do not include any kind of exceptions or loopholes for unusual topography or ill-defined criteria. Those will create difficulties and no one will understand. The transparency will be really, there'll be a lot of detriment there. It should be clean. I agree with the limits on consolidation of lots to have a reasonable size for upzoning. I think the square footage requirement of 12,000 square feet is completely reasonable, and I agree with that. And keeping building envelopes for upzoned lots the same as single-family lots would be a very wise approach in my view. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I believe those are all our public speakers for this public hearing. This public hearing is now closed. We will move on to agenda item 6, is a public hearing on zoning text amendment 25-11, temporary commercial uses, temporary communications facility. The CTA would create a temporary telecommunications facility use, create an approval process for temporary telecommunications facilities, and generally amend the provisions for telecommunications towers and temporary commercial uses. A Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee work session is scheduled for October 6, 2025. Those wishing to submit material for the council's consideration should do so by the close of business September 29, 2025. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. We have two in-person speakers, Catherine Katzen and James He. And Ms. Katzen, you can go first when you're ready.
Good afternoon, President Stewart and council members. Please reject ZTA 2511 in its entirety. It is overly broad, its standards are too weak, and it lacks reasonable protections for affected residents. This CTA is also problematic because it authorizes DPS to exercise discretionary reviews and approvals, functions that are beyond DPS's purview, and sets bad precedent for other ZTAs. If you won't reject it outright, then amend it in these 3 ways. 1, narrow the reasons that qualify for processing and approval of a temporary tower so that a temporary tower is only for approval under the 2511 standards when the applicant demonstrates the rare confluence of A, a natural or man-made disaster, county declared emergency, peril, or other similar event, and B, that event causes the destruction or impairment of telecom antenna facility support structure, and C, there is no other existing structure available to support the antenna facilities, and therefore the antenna facilities face imminent and certain displacement. The other qualifying reasons should be deleted, including scheduled structure repairs and replacements and other foreseeable industry needs and risks. Known or knowable reasons should not justify circumventing the standards and processes for a monopole cell tower. In addition, a request for a temporary tower to increase communications for a government emergency should be managed by the county's emergency systems and public safety regs. Please amend the setback and height standards to make them more aligned with the standards for monopole cell towers that are in sections 59-352C2A, which are more respectful of surrounding properties and neighborhoods. No cell towers, whether temporary or otherwise, should be allowed in residential zones as a limited use. 3, please amend the ZTA with good government provisions. Require fundamental information, transparency, meaningful public input, and thoughtful review agencies' decisions. As introduced, 2511 merely requires inconsequential notice to residents after the Tower Committee has already recommended a tower, and only for some temporary towers. For others, the ZTA requires no notice at all and abbreviated application information. And residents never have a recourse with any proposed temporary tower under the CTA. Amendments should A, require the applicants to electronically broadcast email to all municipalities and civic and residents associations. B, require the tower community to entertain public comments and maintain a record of them and consider them when voting. And C, require DPS to consider comments received by the tower committee and make an independent finding of need when deciding whether to approve a reduced setback, increased height, or the application itself. ZTA 25 should be rejected or amended as set out above. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. He?
Good afternoon. Madam President, members of the council, my name is James Heo, and I serve as the Director of State and Local Government Affairs for the Verizon Mid-Atlantic region. I want to start by thanking Councilmember Luebke for bringing this ZTA before us. It balances the need of expediency to deploy critical infrastructure on a temporary basis while still maintaining the county's oversight. Verizon has proudly served the residents of Montgomery County since the beginning of wireless, back when we operated as Bell Atlantic Mobile. We have invested significantly in the region to expand coverage, increase capacity to meet future wireless demand, and deliver state-of-the-art technology. Our residential and business customers depend on quality and reliable service in their day-to-day operations. Furthermore, reliable and continuous wireless service is essential for government, public safety, and emergency services to communicate with the over 1 million constituents who live and work in Montgomery County. However, the current zoning rules here are causing wireless carriers to face significant hurdles in providing quality and reliable service during emergency situations, as well as during planned and unplanned events. Specifically, the current zoning rules do not allow for the timely deployment of temporary network assets that can be used to ensure continuous and reliable service in any emergency or non-emergency situation when necessary or prudent. Additionally, the current zoning text does not allow carriers to expedite the deployment of temporary portable assets such as cell on wheels to support events like the county fair or championship golf tournaments. These events draw large crowds, and temporary portable assets provide additional capacity to ensure that wireless customers maintain a smooth and consistent user experience. Without the temporary portable assets, the increased demand stresses the surrounding cell sites, resulting in a frustrating user experience for many customers in the greater area and can potentially impact public safety and emergency services' ability to respond in a timely fashion. Most recently, the carriers working with WSSC Water unsuccessfully attempted to expedite the relocation of critical communication network infrastructure from a water tank so that they could address an urgent repair and maintenance issue. Because the county does not have an expedited temporary process, the carriers were subject to the lengthy permanent process that includes regulatory burdens that contributed to it taking nearly 2.5 years before carriers secured all the necessary approvals to relocate. Had the carriers been forced to remove their equipment without a temporary network in place, it would have resulted in a disruption of wireless service to thousands of residential and business customers in and around the Forest Glen and Greater Silver Spring area, including those who provide emergency and critical services. Unfortunately, there wasn't a realistic alternative to replacing the equipment. The proposed ZTA before you today seeks to address the aforementioned challenges by allowing the county to conduct an expedited but thorough review, and we hope that you support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heo. Those are all the comments we have in person today. We have some virtual comments, and we'll first go to Katie McAvoy.
Afternoon, President Stewart and members of the County Council. For the record, I'm Katie McAvoy and I lead external affairs for AT&T in Maryland. I'm here today to express our support for proposed ZTA 2511. I want to thank the county and the council for recognizing the need to update these regulations so that we can continue to serve our wireless customers who live in, work in, and travel through Montgomery County. AT&T is a global leading provider of telecommunication services and technology. We've been connecting Montgomery County residents to greater possibility for more than a century, and we know how important it is for our customers to stay connected through life's defining moments. From 2020 to 2024, we've made nearly $80 billion in investments in the county. The proposed ETA would create a clear category for temporary telecommunications facilities, establishing a more predictable and efficient process for their approval and use across the county. This gives us the flexibility to respond quickly to changing community needs and provide continuous wireless coverage through a number of scenarios: public infrastructure maintenance, large events, and in emergencies. Ensuring wireless coverage is not just important for residents, businesses, and visitors. It's a critical connection for public safety personnel who work every day to protect property and save lives. For these reasons, we respectfully request your support and passage of the proposed ETA. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Next, we have Susan Lavin.
Hello? Am I unmuted?
Yes, you're unmuted, Susan. You can go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Hold on so I can see the screen a little bit. Okay, so hello. Good afternoon, President Stewart and council members. My name is Susan Laban. I'm a longtime resident of Montgomery County. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I urge you to oppose the unnecessary and pernicious ZTA 2511. If it continues to move forward, at a minimum, I urge you to support the amendments proposed by others and by MC4T, which would narrow the scope of this ZTA to unforeseen situations and protect residential areas. I may be familiar to some of you. For first-time council members, I worked for several of your campaigns, and I know many of you are sympathetic to residents' concerns about unfettered and unmonitored cell tower installations. For council members with longer tenures, I was active in opposing ZTAs 2201 and 1907 that allow cell towers just 30 feet from our homes with limited, if any, notice or recourse. The failure of the prior council to heed scientific evidence, and even the U.S. Court of Appeals in D.C. judgment against the FCC in regards to cell towers was a great disappointment. A disappointment for the substance of the issue and the damage to our health and environment, but also a disappointment in our prior council that ignored thousands of letters, phone calls, and emails. The sponsor of 2201 commented that he had never seen such an outpouring of resident opposition in all the years he was on the council. I hope this council will listen to its constituents. CTA 2511 would allow for cell towers up to 200 feet in height anywhere in the county, including residential zones, near schools, apartments, with no due process and no minimum setback. Rather than complying with the existing zoning code, the industry is asking for a giant loophole, the ability to put cell towers anywhere in the county, and in many cases without even attaining a building permit, bypassing decades of precedent in local zoning. Instead of this ill-conceived change, the council should repeal the extremely unpopular and damaging zoning changes in ZTAs 2201 and 1907. As aptly stated in the film Descendants, zoning is destiny. I urge you to grant us residents a say in our destinies. Thank you very much for today's opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you. Next, we have Theodora Scorato.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Stewart and council members. Emergency communication is critical, but ZTA 2511 creates industry-friendly loopholes requiring amendments, as detailed by several others in this hearing. It removes due process protections by allowing very tall, temporary cell towers up to 200 feet near homes and schools without meaningful notice, hearings, or transparency. It lets the carriers self-declare need. That's not streamlining, it's a loophole. Cell towers emit radio frequency radiation, and our federal limits have not been updated since 1996. Now, I got involved in this issue after reading an EPA letter confirming that our nation's cell tower radiation limits only address short-term heating, not the effects of long-term continuous exposure. The studies that the FCC relied on to create these limits exposed a few monkeys, rabbits, and rats to RF for less than 1 hour and only looked at overheating effects. U.S. cell tower radiation limits allow 10 to 100 times more radiation than many other countries. So I took legal action against the FCC, both as a petitioner and director of an organization, along with several others. And in 2021, the D.C. Circuit ruled in our case that the FCC's decision to maintain its 1996 limits was arbitrary and capricious because the agency failed to address record evidence. And the evidence was on long-term exposure, children's vulnerability, and wildlife impacts. The judges mandated that the FCC explain how its limits were protective on these very issues. It's been 4 years, and the agency has not responded to the court order. In this context, weakening local oversight would be premature and irresponsible. Our 29-year safety limits for cell tower radiation are scientifically indefensible. Regulatory agencies such as NCI, EPA, FDA, CDC, they are not monitoring and reviewing the latest science on cell tower health effects. Additionally, realtors have documented property value drops near towers. Imagine a temporary tower going up beside a listing or a school with little notice. There is no federal program ensuring oversight and enforcement regarding RF radiation exposure. We operate on what is essentially the honor system when it comes to RF compliance. ZTA 2511 moves in the opposite direction of prudent governance. The county should require independent compliance checks, transparent monitoring at schools and playgrounds, and setbacks from homes as many other countries do. Many school boards already ban cell towers on school property. Montgomery County should lead with best practice, mitigation, risk mitigation, not roll it back. Please vote no on ZTA 2511 or adopt the amendments offered. Montgomery County's job is to protect people and the environment, not to create fast track that sidesteps community input and safety checks. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all the speakers for this public hearing. This public hearing is now closed. Our last public hearing today is on the FY27 capital budget and the FY27 to FY32 capital improvements program spending affordability guidelines. The Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee work session is scheduled for September 25th, 2025. Those wishing to submit materials for the Council's consideration should do so by the close of business September 18th, 2025. As a reminder, our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. We have two in-person speakers. We have Rachel Silverman from the Office of the County Executive and Christopher Tang. Ms. Silverman, you can start when you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Rachel Silberman, Capital Improvements Program Coordinator in the Office of Office of Management and Budget, and thank you for the opportunity to testify today on behalf of the County Executive to present his recommendations on spending affordability guidelines for the fiscal 27 through 32 period. It's been outlined in a memo recently transmitted to you by the County Executive. The County Executive recommends that the Council adopt new spending affordability guidelines for general obligation bonds, beginning with $340 million in fiscal 27 and increasing 3% annually, totaling $2.19 billion over 6 years. This returns the county to fiscal 18 levels and helps maintain purchasing power in the face of inflation. Over the past 6 years, the county has taken a fiscally responsible approach reducing general obligation debt to slow the growth of debt service. As a result, for the first time in 15 years, our debt service to general fund revenue ratio has dropped below the county's self-imposed 10% cap. This gives us the flexibility to responsibly increase our debt limit to meet growing infrastructure demands. Our current $280 million annual limit has fallen behind. To match the purchasing power of $300 million we issued in fiscal 09, we would need to issue over $500 million annually today. Without adjusting our debt limits, we risk losing ground on critical investments in schools, bus rapid transit, and other infrastructure. Additionally, the county plans to review our fiscal policy metrics, which were last updated in 2010, to ensure alignment with best practices and our AAA bond rating. Including property tax revenues for services like fire and transit and our affordability calculations, as other jurisdictions do, would improve our affordability metrics by over a full percentage point. While we do not expect large shifts in measures of debt affordability, the review is important to ensure that we have the right metrics and targets in place to guide our work. Finally, the county executive recommends adopting spending affordability guidelines of $8.32 million annually for our park and planning bonds, a modest 4% increase over the 6-year period. This ensures continued investment in parks and planning while maintaining manageable debt service. Thank you for consideration. The executive branch staff are available to support your deliberations moving forward.
Thank you so much. Mr. Tang?
Good afternoon, and thank you all council members for the opportunity to speak today. As a high school student, I've been deeply interested in how trade policy impacts everyday people. I've previously worked on research regarding tariffs in the European Union, and that inspired me to ask a similar question here at home on how these tariffs are affecting businesses in Montgomery County. To find out, I conducted interviews with a wide range of businesses across the county, covering sectors from automotive and manufacturing to construction, agriculture, technology, and retail, and I asked them about both the short and long-term effects of these tariffs and whether these costs were passed on to customers. From my interviews, I identified a couple of key sectors that have cited key issues, specifically being manufacturing and construction firms, which were among the hardest hit given their reliance on imported materials. Many local manufacturers noted that the rising input costs, especially for materials like steel, inevitably trickle down onto consumers, and real estate developers face similar pressures, contending with higher prices for essentials like lumber. In this connection to the spending affordability guidelines and capital improvements program, my research shows that tariffs and trade volatility introduce debt affordability concerns and inflationary pressures into the local economy. For instance, of rising material costs, if steel prices rise sharply due to tariffs, that directly increases the cost of county-funded projects like schools, transportations, and public facilities. Furthermore, with revenue impacts, when manufacturers face higher costs or when GDP growth slows, as shown by some estimates slowing by 5 to 6%, that affects tax revenue, consumer spending, and the county's debt capacity. Finally, if project costs surge, the county may face pressure to issue more debt than SAG allows, triggering supermajority threshold and complicating long-term affordability. The ripple effects that businesses describe to me, being higher costs, uncertain supply chains, and squeezed margins, are the same ripple effects that can stretch the county's capital budget and strain its ability to stay within affordability guidelines. That's why I encourage the council to build greater flexibility into the spending affordability guidelines, and this could include setting aside contingency funds in the capital budget to absorb unexpected cost increases in construction materials, requiring stress tests of affordability indicators under scenarios of tariff-driven inflation or supply chain shocks, and using the mid-cycle review process to explicitly account for trade policy shifts as potential triggers for revising SAG. These are practical steps that would make counties' fiscal planning more resilient in the face of external shocks. In conclusion, the ripple effects of tariffs remind us that uncertainty is now a part of the economic landscape, and for local businesses and Montgomery County government, resilience and adaptability are essential. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Tang. I very much appreciate it. There may be a job or an internship for you here. Some folks, I know, really. You may want to join us for our government operations fiscal policy meeting this week. But anyway, thank you very much for that. Those are all the speakers we have for this public hearing. This public hearing is now done. Our last agenda item for this afternoon is an interview with the county executive's nominee for the Mid-County Regional Services Director. As they're making their way down, I just want to congratulate Ms. Luisa Cardova, who we confirmed this morning as Assistant Chief Administrative Officer. Thank you very much for being there. And I see Silver Spring Regional Service Director is here, Jacob Newman, because everyone is here to support. So, Mr. Madaleno, I'm going to turn over to you to introduce the candidate for the Mid-County Regional Services Center Director. It's the Mid-County, I was doing really well. It's late. The Mid-County Regional Services Centers services a diverse group of county residents and business in the northeast of the county from Ashton to Wheaton. The RCS's goal is to strengthen and connect local community to county government, identify regional priorities and future service needs, recommend programs and policies tailored to the community, and oversee county services. Mr. Madaleno, would you like to introduce the county executive's nominee?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much, Madam President, members of the council. My name is Rich Madaleno. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for the county government. It's my pleasure today to introduce someone who I guess many of you already know, Mr. Nestor Alvarenga, who is the county executive's nominee to be the Mid-Services Regional Director. Mr. Alvarenga has been an employee of the county government before, which is why I think many of you have interacted with him, having been the Hispanic Community Liaison for County Executive Leggett. He has worked in the media, having worked for Telemundo. He has been in advocacy, having worked for CASA. He has done great work in our community, organizing, informing, bringing people together. And that's exactly what the county executive and I looked for in a replacement for Ms. Cardona. Thank you very much for your unanimous support for her and Mr. Amin to be our Deputy Director of the Office of Management and Budget. So we have a unique opportunity with Mr. Alvarenga, someone who knows the community, someone who grew up in the community. He is a graduate of Wheaton High School, then went on to the University of Maryland. So he knows this community. He's known it as a teenager. He's known it as a resident. He's known it as an employee of the county. He's known it as a reporter. So we're very fortunate that he is willing to step up and into this role. He has big shoes to fill. The number of people who've had this job over the years for the county have been amazing people who've worked very hard for the county, for the community. And we know that Mr. Alvarenga will continue that tradition as the Mid-County Regional Services Director. I would ask for your favorable consideration of his nomination, hopefully later today, so that we can keep filling these positions. I know that was off script, but we would love to have him in place as soon as possible so that we can continue this work in our partnership with all of you, especially Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez and, of course, Councilmember Lutke, Councilmember Mink, who overlap this district, this region in your districts.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam President.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Alvarenga. I have a couple of questions I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to open it up to my colleagues. The first question I'll ask you is, tell us about your background and qualifications as they relate to your potential appointment, and please explain your understanding of the role of the Regional Services Center Director as it relates to the council.
Hello. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. Thank you, Council President Stewart and council members. It is a pleasure to be here and coming back home to Montgomery County. Thank you for the time and this opportunity. I also want to thank County Executive Mark Elrich and Chief Administrator Madaleno, Officer Madaleno, and the administration for this opportunity. Also want to thank Councilmember Natalie Fanny Gonzalez for her leadership and support and service as well. And also, since we're on the thank you, also want to recognize the great work of the Wheaton Urban District team, and especially Luis Cardona, who has done an amazing job at the Mid-County and has been a guidance and helping me and supporting throughout this process. I am humble and honored to be here today, and it feels great coming back. And as CAO Madaleno mentioned, coming back to Mid-County and Wheaton, Glenmont, which is my neighborhood. My parents are still there. There, by the way, family and friends are watching. I told them not to come, but no pressure there. It's better to be in the virtual world. And to be back and again with many friends as I worked with many of you and in your previous lives or in different roles as well in capacity. And again, looking forward to working with the Mid-County Council members, again, Fanny Gonzalez, Lutke, and Mink. Very nice meeting you both, and looking forward to working together, and the large council members as well, Albornoz, Sales, Glass, and Jowando. And again, coming back and working with our incredible partners in the county, we're very lucky to have the partnerships that we have and those relationships because it's what makes Montgomery County great and an amazing place to be. And especially, I want to say during this moment where local government and services are extremely important for our residents and our communities in general. A little bit of my background, I was born in El Salvador. And came as a child to Washington, D.C. with my parents, a family of 6, and grew up coming to the U.S. after the Civil War ended in El Salvador, and my parents seeking a better life and opportunities. And after a few years, my parents decided to come to Montgomery County. Again, that path of the great school system that we have here in CPS. And so definitely go Knights for Wheaton High and then University of Maryland. Actually, a story of the many in the county, right? Going into the public Montgomery College Rockville campus as well, which was my path. And then going into the University of Maryland for government and politics. And eventually later going into 10 years later, going back in for my master's in public management, public policy, School of Public Policy. And now, in a nutshell, I know I'm the last agenda item, but the last 15 years of experience and working in human rights and social justice, racial equity at the local, state, national, and some international level as well within Latin America. I am fortunate to say that my background and experience are no difference between my personal and my professional life. That's always a blessing. And always been around community and public service across the sectors, as Marilena mentioned, in all three, in the public, private, and the nonprofit sector. And briefly highlighting that as the Montgomery County and the Latino community liaison with the OCP family and community engagement cluster, and under county executive Leggett during that time, it was literally coming in, and it was 2014, and we saw the wave of unaccompanied minors, and I'm looking at Councilmember Gabe because he was at that time also part of that work group that we created under the leadership and Montgomery County government. For our unaccompanied minors, children and families coming and becoming residents, part of our community here, and working together. Councilmember Albanaz as rec department director, and all that. And I am gonna apologies because I am not gonna go and name each individual or offices. So. Montgomery County Familia, I hope you understand now, because if not, we'll be here till 6, and that's not going to be nice. So I just want to frame that, but in also working with, right, all of our nonprofit partners that stepped up to the plate and doing that great work, as well as Montgomery College and also the private institutions, right, the law firms, as we were looking for legal representation. Again, all of this, as we are also in a new age, but we were able to manage, come together and make it work for our residents and our communities. As an individual consultant, which has also been part of my role, and as a communications agency, coming back into Montgomery County, coming back again into the Children Fleeing Violence Work Group, or the Bienvenidos Initiative for the county, working on the multilingual child care information campaign and language access campaign as well. So I've been gone, but not gone in that sense, and always connected to the county. And of course, the Por Nuestra Salud y Bienestar, Abuelina COVID-19 campaign. And I want to thank you all, the Montgomery County government, for this. This was an initiative that was literally life-saving during the horrible pandemic, COVID-19. And a special recognition to Councilmember Albornoz and former Councilmember Navarro on their leadership, and it has been, and it was an honor and a privilege to work on that campaign that was literally saving lives. And then again, in the nonprofit sector, just in a nutshell, community organizing, lead in the community and supporting tenants with a team of organizers, small businesses, workers, labor rights, domestic day laborers, youth organizers, Dreamers, the Maryland Dream Act, which at that time you were a senator back then, and anti-human trafficking, community development, civic engagement, and then I had the opportunity also of going into Central America and working for the informal economy, labor rights, public policy partnerships, and international coalitions and exchanges. And then briefly, you mentioned as a reporter, I am not a reporter, but in the private sector, in the media sector, at Telemundo, supporting the news team and keeping our communities informed and safe, especially during COVID-19, during the also surge of immigration and issues. And I was able to continue my work of creating community spaces, partnerships, philanthropy, and social impact initiatives around LGBTQ, education, health, financial literacy issues, mental health, civic engagement, get out the vote, and census as well. So, in a nutshell, that is very briefly where I wanted to come back and say that I given my extent and commitment to and passion to community and the work that we do here in Montgomery County, it's always at my center.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. If appointed, how would you position this role to work on racial equity and social justice issues?
Again, right, going back into those examples of the campaigns and everything, all the issues that we had in the county, we need to create problem awareness, right? So identifying that issue, and listening to the community and the different stakeholders. And my role is extremely important, as I will be the connector and communicator between both and representing both the communities and county government at the same time. And then we need to ensure the community is engaged, and those groups that we are advocating or working with on behalf and are analyzing the causes and generating solutions together. I'm a strong believer of us going to the community and not the other way around, where we're just sitting and having community come to us or just posting it up on the website. We know that doesn't work. We have to do all of the above. And sorry, I missed there we go. Yes. So absolutely, it is extremely important to enable community members to advocate directly on the issues affecting them. And then most importantly is the development and the strategy, right? And ensuring the proper resources and the implementation. Implementation is key, because if we do all of the above and then we have no implementation, or we just frame it and this is the framework and put it up on the wall, then we lose trust in our residents and our work, and then we see no change. So I absolutely see implementation also as the 200% big part of it.
Thank you. If appointed, what will your priorities for the first year be as Regional Services Director?
Ooh, yes. First, again, become a true partner in the Mid-County. I do have a lot of connections and have a lot of partnerships developed and throughout the years. But again, in this specific role, coming back in, establish those relationships, build trust in the community, and be seen as a resource as county government for the community. Again, going back into listening to the community and stakeholders on various matters and challenges, and engage them to provide solutions together, right? Again, this is also part of the believer of we need to have everybody sitting at the table, right? And this is part of also of racial equity, that we all need to be, and not just sitting at the table, but also making those decisions as well together. So it's not just, oh yeah, we have another checkbox, and but that everybody is at the table and actively participating and making those decisions in the community. Listen to the community and stakeholders, as I said, developing and strengthening relationship with all the council members, especially the district Mid-County council members, and working closely with CEC family and all the directors, and to ensure that the needs of the entire county are met. developing, strengthening relationship with all the county programs and departments as well, right? Parks and Planning, Economic Development, HHS, to leverage their work in the community and knowledge as well, and on ongoing efforts to create new safe community spaces around Mid-County, creating community, identity, and pride in our neighborhoods, which is also extremely important and just part of building community. I'm sorry, my community organizer just comes out all the time. And so part of this is also developing a work plan, right, for the first year with actionable items and goals and activities that we want to accomplish.
Great. Thank you.
All right.
My last question, and I'm going to turn it over to colleagues, is are there any potential conflicts of interest of which we should be aware?
None that I'm aware of.
Terrific. I will first turn it over to Councilmember Natalie Fana-Gonzalez.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Very quickly, since we gotta go back at 7 p.m., guys. I am so happy. I am very happy to see you here in front of all of us. I am very happy that the county executive moved forward your recommendation. I have known you for many years, and you're exactly what I need, what Montgomery County needs in this particular position. I don't need somebody to just show up at events. I need somebody who will follow up and connect and get things done. And I know I'm going to have that with you, and we're going to work very, very closely. Very closely. With that said, thank you for being here, and I look forward to voting yes for you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you. I'll be brief as well, but I couldn't miss this opportunity to congratulate the county executive on such a wonderful appointment. As Mr. Haverenga mentioned, we work together collaboratively of a number of key issues. He brings public, private, and nonprofit experience, which is really helpful as a regional service center director in navigating these very complicated times. So look forward to working with you and dealing with what we know will be very challenging days ahead. Thank you.
Councilmember Lukey.
Thank you, Madam President. I was sad to see Ms. Cardona moving into another role, but also happy for her. But, what a wonderful luxury it is to have you and your enthusiasm coming to serve in this position. So I did not have the benefit of knowing you before this, but I am greatly appreciative of the passion you're going to bring to this role, and I look forward to moving your nomination today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Mink.
I'm really looking forward to working with you in this capacity. And as a former community organizer myself, so much of what you said really resonates with me, and especially during these times. I think the range of experiences that you have, both community and within the public and private sector, all of that is going to be so very valuable here. So your reputation precedes you, and it's very much a good one. And I look forward to moving this as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Lass.
Thank you, Madam President. Nestor, it's great to see you. Thank you to Mr. Madaleno and County Executive for nominating you. As you were going through your path in and out of Montgomery County, I remember first meeting you about 12, 13 years ago when I was a member of the Silver Springs Citizens Advisory Board, and you joined the Silver Springs Citizens Advisory Board as a member representing CASA and the immigrant community within the community. And then you left to work for the county. And your trajectory has been upward ever since. And so I know you, I know your work, I know what's in your heart, and I know that Wheaton and the Mid-County will be in very good hands. Because it's me, I have to ask a question. And so let me just ask you, because you've been in and out of government and in the community, talk about some of the challenges that you expect, right? Particularly within a community that needs connection, but might not be seeking it. Quite frankly, is hiding these days. And how will you help our residents seek the safety and the services that they deserve?
Sure, and thank you for that. Yes, I again, with all the passion and commitment that is there, right? That's half the, and then the other half is doing that intentional work and going into those communities, and part of it, building community, right? So it's part of us to be consistent, to be there, to be present, to just bring that message. Again, coming from the media world too, that you know, messaging, and building that trust within those communities. And so it's going there again, right? It's going to those communities where they are at, whether it's the small apartment complexes, where it's, or, you know, they're not, or church or whatever faith groups or wherever they're gathering, at the shopping centers, whether they're doing the groceries, right? So it's going back to that grassroots level and making sure that we are bringing that message that Montgomery County, that we are here to help and bring services, because unfortunately, to your point, the community doesn't know the difference between, especially around law enforcement, right? Oh, this is Montgomery County, or this is federal, or this is something else. So we have to be consistent and have that message, and simple and clear message, but ongoing work of engagement and community outreach that needs to happen. Again, we're lucky that we have great partners in the county, right? And we have those amazing nonprofits. I'm also not going to mention all of them because, yes. So, but absolutely. I think that's part of the plan, and just be consistent and be there and be present.
Excellent. I look forward to working with you again.
Likewise.
Terrific. Those are all the questions from my colleagues. Personally, I just want to say I'm very excited, even though technically my district doesn't touch your regional services area. I'm looking forward to working together and building on the relationship we had prior. So thank you. It's very good to see you back. Mr. Malino, anything else? Nope.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you all. That is it for our afternoon. The council will take another recess, and we'll be back tonight at 7 p.m. for the second public hearing on the University Boulevard Corridor Plan. See you all at 7. Thank you.